We're go. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. This is the reconvened meeting of the Library Board of Trustees, July 24th, 2018. We have a guest who has arrived, and perhaps I could turn this over to the director of the library, Karen Wall, and she can handle the introductions.
Thank you, Richard. I just asked our new circulation clerk, Susan Gustafson, to stop by so that I could introduce her to everyone. Susan, this is Stephanie Ford, Kathy Carmignani, Richard Clark, Pat Korch, and Joyce Nieradzinski. Obviously, you know who I am. And this is Michelle Jervis, who is the town administrator's executive assistant.
The person who runs the town.
And, yeah, exactly.
Really?
Organized.
Yes.
And so I wanted to introduce Susan to the board and to the public. She began on July 6th.
Yes.
And so she's been on board for a few weeks now, a couple of weeks, and doing a great job. So you want to say a little bit about yourself?
I'm Susan Gustafson. I live in Oxford, and I've got 3 children and 2 grandchildren, and a husband still. And, I used to work in the Oxford Library many years ago, and I'm thrilled to have this position and get back to working in a library, because I was in a business office for many years, and I worked into Worcester, and so I'm thrilled to be working part-time and have a smaller commute than I used to have.
So
Save on the gas.
Absolutely.
You'll see Susan behind the circ desk on Wednesdays, Fridays, and once we open again on Saturdays in September, on Saturdays.
That's
So,
right.
welcome,
Thank you
and
very
thank
much.
you for stopping by.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
I
Anyone
look
have-
forward to seeing you in the library.
Any
Anyone have
questions?
questions or comments?
I know
Thank you for
you'll
taking
do
it.
better.
Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah,
Thank you. It was
come in.
nice to meet everyone. Have a
Thanks a
nice
lot,
evening.
Susan.
Stay cool. Yes.
That's right.
That's the watchword for the day.
See you tomorrow.
You bet.
And moving along with our agenda items, director's report.
Sure. Okay. I included June because I didn't have, at our last meeting at the end of June, I didn't have quite all of my numbers, but I'll just hit a few highlights because it's lengthy. I included some of July as well. But we kicked off our summer reading program with the Mad Science programs on the 27th. We had 80 kids, or 80 participants for those, mostly kids. And we also had a subsequent kickoff on the Saturday with Dino Man. And for that, we had 50 plus people show up. And they're always entertaining. This is the second time we've had Mad Science, and they focus on STEM programs for kids, and they're very organized and well put together. We really enjoy having them. And Dino Man is great. As you know, this year's theme is Libraries Rock, so we kind of were going on the rock theme instead of the rock and roll theme, but we touch on that as well. So a great showing for our summer reading kickoff. And again, I would like to thank the Crawford Endowment. They have supported the summer reading program this year, as well as our Pearl Jam concert series. As far as results in July, we kicked off the very next week, which we weren't sure what the next week would be like because the 4th of July fell right in the middle of the week, but
Wednesday.
Miss Pam had 50 people show up for the red, white, and blue slime. There was slime.
That was 50 kids.
Apparently, people don't want to do slime at home. So so when we have it at the library, everyone shows, and the parents are relieved. And the custodian is sad.
I think I saw some red slime on the stairway, actually.
Yeah. Well, I can't explain the slime here, so that's not our fault.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we've continued to have great success with some of the crafts, the gnome and the gnome movie, the puppet making craft, which we tried to kind of coordinate some of the crafts with programs that were going on. Shortly thereafter, we had the Pumpernickel puppet show. We had 123 at last count when we lost count because people were moving around. That was fun.
He did a great job.
He's fantastic.
He did a great job.
not only does John from Pumpernickel Puppets do a great show, but he engages with the kids and shows them how the puppets work and gives them a behind-the-scenes look at what goes on. And we just love him. He's a deal, and we'll have him back. We've had him a couple of years in a row, maybe 3 years in a row now. So, and he tries to cater it to the summer reading theme as well. So, let's see. On the 18th, we had the Playful Earth Traveling Makerspace, and that was also wonderful. These people, this is my first exposure to this group, and they come in, they're a STEM program that, they travel around to different libraries, and they come in and literally set up tables all around the library, and the kids do different things and build different things. It's wonderful. So I was thrilled to see that turn out. And it was just the right amount. I mean, too many kids, it would have been, I think, an issue. I think this was probably right at our limit. But again, a really fun time for the kids. Some different things for them to do that might be sometimes beyond what they get at home. On the 19th, we had a wonderful showing for our movie screening, Boston's North End. That was we showed that for the July evening movie. But we also were lucky enough to have the producer his name is James, oh my goodness, his last name just went right out of my head. Anyway, he's the producer. He's also the co-founder of the North End Historical Society. So it was produced by the North End Historical Society. So we had 42 people show up for this. So I was adding chairs like crazy. And the Friends of the Library supplied Italian-themed refreshments. So it was great. And Anne-Marie Sapai, I would like to give a shout out to Anne-Marie, who went and picked up all of the goodies. The Friends paid for them, and Anne-Marie went and picked everything up. Delicious, sort of a cheese and meat platter, and cannolis, exactly. I didn't get any cannolis.
Yeah.
Those were gone by the time I got in there.
Yes.
But anyway, a lot of people were very interested. I find in Dudley, when we have these kinds of historical type programs, there's a real kind of need in this area and a real interest among the community for this kind of thing. So it makes me, I like when we had the Louisa May Alcott reenactment, that drew a huge crowd, and I wasn't quite sure what that, what kind of draw that would be, but so it kind of tells me, going forward, what works and what doesn't and what people want. And, that's how in case you're wondering, how we go about selecting which programs to have, that feeds into it. I mean, it doesn't mean that we don't throw it against the wall to see if it sticks. We'll do that too. Sometimes you just have to try new things.
Right.
So anyway, big fun. And so Pam's continuing with the crafts. She had yesterday morning she had a little geologist rock and mineral hunt that she said was very well attended. And then going forward, we've got some things coming up that I would like to mention. We have tomorrow. We have the craft is Undersea Aquarium. I'm not sure what that entails, but I'm sure it will be fun. And that is no registration. The kids can just show up for that. On the 26th, we have 2 programs going on simultaneously, so it should be interesting. We have the very first concert in our Pearl Jam concert series, the Misty Blues Band. That is a group out of the Berkshires, I believe, and that starts at 6 p.m. in the Fells Community Room. And at the same time, on Thursday, we have a genealogy group presentation for those who are interested in getting started doing their genealogy. Pat Stano Carpenter, who is the past president of the Mass Genealogists Society, is presenting that. And this is a couple of times we've had this, and people really like it and enjoy it. There's no registration for either one of these. We do, if you're planning to come to the genealogy group, maybe give us a shout and let us know so that we know how many handouts, but it doesn't mean, you know, if you haven't signed up that you can't come.
Where are you setting that up?
That is going to be in the local history room inside of the library. And that's where we have most of our genealogy programs and meetings. So that takes care of the 2 conference rooms for Thursday night. I hope there's nothing else going on. And then on Friday, we have got the Science Tellers, Mystery of the Golden Piano. Also, no registration. And so we're really looking forward to having them as well. All of these events are on our web calendar. So there's so much more going on than what I'm covering today. It's just, you know, in the interest of time, please check our calendar, our online calendar. And if something tickles your fancy, come on down. We try to keep many things no registration so that people can just walk in the door. And it's usually noted if there is registration required. On Monday, I just want to mention, last but not least, on Monday we have the return of Liz Barber, who brings her entire show to the library. Her cooking demonstrations are always well attended. There is registration required for that because there's a limit of 35 people, and that usually fills up. So she's doing a summer reading program called Rock Your World with Low Carb Meals, which is a big, you know, that's a big thing right now.
Do you know how many are registered right now?
I don't.
Quite a few. I was at the almost very bottom of the page.
How much? How many? I'm sorry.
How many lines are there?
35 is the limit, so.
I know, but I don't know how many lines.
Probably, we're probably up to around 20 or so.
Okay, because the whole page was filled and there were about 40.
Oh, okay. So we'll probably have about 10 more spots left. So do call the library and register. There's no charge for this. Liz brings her crock pot and she's just all self-contained. And then it's a cooking demonstration, and you get to sample the results of the cooking demonstration. You can't go wrong with this, and she's wonderful.
Always the draw.
She is a published cookbook author. She's done a presentation on having a cooking garden. She has a most beautiful historic home with a gorgeous cottage garden out front.
Is this local?
She lives in New Hampshire, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But she
So she's
travels.
traveling some distance then.
She does, but she's very popular in the area, so she's probably lined up a few libraries on Thursday to visit.
The web is creativefeast.com.
Yes.
She has great recipes on it too.
It's Liz Barber's Creative Feast, in case anyone wants to look it up. And her calendar is also on there. She's been to Charlton. I'm not sure about Oxford and other surrounding. I know she's been to Charlton. So anyway, so those are some biggies coming up. And next Tuesday, Miss Pam's craft is Harry Potter potions. So, and that's no registration.
I just have a quick question.
Lay it on me.
What does SRP mean?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just don't know what the abbreviation
No
is.
problem. Summer reading program.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Sharon, is the creature teachers registration? I couldn't remember.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
But call the library if you have any questions about that. Yes, Creature Teachers, I'm sorry, that's another one on Monday. Creature Teachers is on Monday. That's a visiting, they bring animals to the library.
Oh, nice.
Creatures.
What kind of animals?
I'm not sure exactly.
Like a petting zoo type of thing?
It's not a petting zoo. I think it's more educational as far as like reptiles and things of that nature.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Reptiles.
So
We're passing that one.
I've not seen them before. This is their first time at the Pearl, so
Wow,
we're
okay.
looking forward to having them. And then further out in August, we've got. I'll just hit the high points because this calendar is hot off the press. On Thursday the 2nd, we've got musical story time with Julie Stepanek. She will be she will be playing her ukulele and telling a story, and that's for smaller kids. I think maybe up to the age of 5, but don't quote me on that. That's at 11 o'clock on the 2nd. And then there's a ukulele workshop for 8 and above, kids 8 and above. So 8 to 12, I would imagine, or maybe 8 through 13, 14 would probably even be acceptable. Those are registration because Julie brings ukuleles with her. And then on the 3rd, which is Friday, August 3rd, we have 2 sessions of soap making for kids that are ages 5 and older. It's called Ducky's Rock. And they'll be making ducky-shaped, I saw some samples, they're cool. Ducky-shaped soaps. And then we've got so summer reading, let me just say, we've got numerous things going on through mid-August, which again, you can see on our online calendar. And stopping in the library helps. We publicize on our Facebook page, crawfordlibrary.org is where you can find it on Facebook. We also have an e-newsletter that is due to go out this Thursday. So if you are not already signed up for our e-newsletter, you may do so by calling the library. We have a link right on our homepage. Get our e-newsletter. You can sign up that way. We don't sell it, and that's really the best way to hear about our programs firsthand. And again, it's going out Thursday, and I would say by probably 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it will have left the gates. And we try not to inundate people with the newsletters because I know how inboxes fill up. That being said, summer reading, there is still time to sign up. I know our numbers are quite good for sign-ups in all 3 areas, kids, young adults, and adults. We've had a great year as far as sign-ups go. But there's still time to sign up for any and all of the programs. And the summer reading program runs through August 16th. And on August 16th, it will culminate with a concert by the Toe Jam Puppet Band, and we'll have ice cream sandwiches. So if you haven't already signed up, come on down. It's easy and it's fun. And you can win stuff. Exactly. And then we'll breathe for a couple of weeks before September. And then in September, again, we're closed on Saturdays through July and August, and we will resume our Saturday hours on September 7th, I believe. 6th, is that right? September 6th? 7th.
September, Saturday would be,
I think it's September
8th.
Is it the 8th? Thank you. Okay. We will resume the Saturday after Labor Day weekend is when we will resume our Saturday hours. And we have had some sad people who thought we were open through the summer on Saturdays, but
A challenge.
maybe down the road a piece.
Finding out how we can
I
work
know.
that out for 52 weeks of the year, or
I
50
know.
weeks of the year at least. Thank you. That's
You're welcome.
a lot of food for the mind and the body in
I
this case.
know. I know. We've got a
Rather tasty assortment.
yeah. It's going great. Busy. Let's see. I'm going to just cover the budget really quick. There's a couple of sheets that this is probably the very last FY18 budget you'll see because it's on the back of the FY19. Is that it? Okay. But I like to show this to you as well because typically, because our budget doesn't quite cover all of our costs through the year, although we are getting there, so I rely on state aid to pay some last minute bills. So it shows you that we expended our total allocated municipal income of $348.50, and then out of our special accounts, so that would be state aid, our green account. When I get to that point, if I need, like, let's say an HVAC repair, I'll take it out of a special account. Or if I have a materials bill that comes in that's dated June, I cannot pay that out of my new fiscal year, so I will take that out. And every year that gets less and less, so that's, I was looking at the trend. I think 3 years ago, we were taking $15K out of that account. And then over the last couple of years, somewhere between 8 and 10. It's any one of these special accounts.
Oh, okay.
So when I have SA 17, I mean state aid 17.
Okay.
I had some left over from that year. State aid is Well, I'm doing my state reporting right now, and once that's all filed, they determine what kind of state aid we get. So I'll use that to, I kind of look at the item to see, okay, what's the best place to take this item from, and then I determine it, but I like to account for it, because that helps me when I do my budget for the following year. So. And then on the other page, you will see my new one. And as you know, those of you who have come to sign so far, there were a lot of contract renewals. Yes, okay, good. I did, thank you. So I've already, I kind of saved those. I don't start to pay those until toward the end of July. I'm still kind of we're still kind of settling the previous fiscal year. And I don't like it to get too complicated. So there's not much to say about FY19 so far.
All right, anyone have any questions with regards
Anything
to
on
the
the
budget? And/or programs and events?
And if there's ever any questions when you come in to sign bills, grab me. I'm more than happy to answer them, or if I can't answer them, I will get an answer for you.
She's very quick about getting answers. Wasn't even looking for an answer. Just asked a question.
It was
and
a good
she
one,
came
though.
Right back and had an answer.
Joyce had a question about the assessment bill, which is our big 1-year bill from CW Mars. It's our participation in the consortium. And there's line items associated, and actually I had to make myself feel better. I was chatting with another director, and I'm like, I had to run and see what those were, and they're like, I don't know what those are. It's just we belong to the consortium, and anyway. But it's there's so much that goes into it. It's all of the circulation costs. It's all of our network costs. It's the interlibrary loan costs. It's circulation maintenance. It's the integrated library system. So, and it's shared amongst all of the 165 plus libraries that are in CW Mars, and it's balanced based on a number of factors, population, lots of factors. So, and it's something that we talk about at our user council meetings, so it's never a big surprise to me.
You see that as increasing year over year?
Of course,
Not be
because they have a
surprised by
staff,
that,
and they have
Expenses going
costs.
up.
They actually, they have a physical space in Worcester, and they have a sizable staff, and all of the people on the staff. It takes a lot to run a consortium, and CW Mars is the largest one in
I
Massachusetts.
recall there was a question, I know that the state is moving towards an increase in terms of the hourly wage. And there was a concern
Yes.
about the ability to deliver books from one library to another, the interlibrary loan, as far as the funding, whether it would be sufficient to cover, I think it was Saturday deliveries were in question.
Yes, and actually that's not really, wasn't really that bill particularly, although CW Mars does get an offset from the state. So that's a state, that's the Mass Library System that handles the delivery. And since they, on the state level, were not funded to the point where they could continue with the
Right.
Saturday deliveries, they decided to curtail.
They have ended those?
That's correct.
And I think a part of that, as I recall, was some of the smaller libraries, especially in the western part of the state, would have been eliminated entirely. I don't know if it that far. Or not.
I'm not positive about that. I don't think anyone's been eliminated entirely.
Okay, well, that would be a good thing, hopefully,
Yeah.
for those folks out there.
I think they might have just gone down to one delivery, but those libraries probably didn't get a daily delivery like we do.
Right.
We get delivery Monday through Friday. We never were getting them on Saturdays anyway.
It'd be a shame to have them completely eliminated and have no availability at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be terrible.
Well, right,
Those
because
folks.
they need support as well. That's
Right.
part of the reason why the Central Massachusetts Library Advocates Group started up. It was kind of this is a group that you might recall, I've been meeting monthly with area directors, and we talk about, problems with libraries, and we come up with, it's sort of a grassroots kind of thing. And we actually get a lot done and solve a lot of smaller things that, you know, if I'm dealing with it, probably, you know, Oxford is dealing with it too, you know, and so we hash some things out, like share ideas. And one of the things that came out of it was the formulation of the Central Mass Library Advocates Association. And it's cmla.org if anyone is interested in checking it out. And it really does not have, you don't have to be working at a library or a trustee. You can just want to support your local libraries and get involved. And so I would encourage people to check it out. Right now, it's the bulk of the Central Mass libraries. Western Mass has a similar one. In fact, ours was modeled after theirs. And the whole, it's an advocacy group, pardon me, and that's so that we can have a voice as a smaller library with the Mass Library System and the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, because like you say, sometimes the smaller libraries that maybe aren't open the same amount of hours as we are, they get lost in the shuffle.
Right.
And it's particularly hard because they're trying to run with just a tiny staff, and usually the director can't get away to be that advocate, right? So, anyway.
Well, that's good. Hopefully there's strength in numbers.
Yes.
Definitely.
So thanks for asking.
Thank you. Facilities?
Onto my building. I don't have a whole lot. Right there. So, you may or may not know this, but we had someone take out our bike rack and our light post at the library a few weeks back. A person drove their pickup truck over them and just flattened both. And no one was hurt, mercifully, because it's a sidewalk in front of the person and the parking lot behind, and I just thank my lucky stars that no one was either walking in front or behind of the person. But anyway, an insurance, I wrote up everything right away, sent it to the town treasurer who handles that kind of thing. And today I heard back from him saying that we don't exactly have a claim number yet, but that I have the green light to get estimates for the replacement of the bike rack, repair and replacement of the bike rack and the light post. So.
Can the bike rack be repaired or replaced?
No, that needs to be replaced. They were flattened. And I mean, literally the light post snapped and went over. But I think the top part of the light post, Neil Piasta, our electrician, came out and he said that might be worth saving. So I saved it and put it in the shed, just in case. Well, at the worst, we'd have a spare, right?
They come in handy.
You never know. So I'm just today, as soon as I heard that, I put an email out to my peeps out there on library land and, you know, asked for feedback on bike racks and so forth. I also have a call into one of the co-chairs of the building committee to see if she knows off the top of her head where the stuff was purchased, because with a new building it's hard. Sometimes it's all wrapped into the big building project and no one really knows where the bike rack came from. Those are pretty easy to find. Already Margaret Morrissey in Southbridge has sent me pictures of hers, and they actually lend bicycles there now, so she has a fix-it. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Don't get any ideas, Joyce. The minute I heard, I'm like, who repairs all those bikes?
Yeah.
But anyway,
I
I know. Well, anyway, it's a great thing. But she sent me pictures of their bike racks, and so I've got the ball rolling on that, and I will be calling Neil to see about a quote on getting the. I'm not sure what the prices are going to come back. It might be that I have to get a couple of quotes, maybe 3 on the lamp post. It was, what, 20 feet tall? It's not a small lamp post.
No, it's substantial.
So, anyway, you'll be.
When they're repairing all that, will they be doing any cement work on the sidewalk? Is there any need of that being repaired or fixed?
The sidewalk did not get damaged itself. I haven't really
I
looked.
just wonder when they install, will they be,
They'll,
will cement be incorporated in that? Only because when I walked into the library last week, I noticed there's a big divot of cement missing, like almost the first, like right off the front door of the sidewalk.
oh,
And I thought, well, that's a big piece, and I would hate to see somebody
True.
fall and find us
oh.
liable for
I'll look
that.
into that.
So I didn't know if that was gonna happen. I'm thinking if they're gonna do the bike ride, maybe they can just do the cement there too.
I will find out. So that's in the front,
Right when you
here's
walk
the
to-
pillars.
Yeah, it's at the, when you step up on the curb. It's one of
Okay,
the
I
first.
bet I know. Is it the curb?
Chunk. No, it's not the curb.
Sometimes when, well,
They plow, shovel.
I didn't say it.
I did. It's okay. I did.
Well,
They do the best they can.
Yeah.
give a thought to
Sometimes the
seeing if
curb
there's
is
something
there
to be
and they
done
don't
about
know
that.
it.
Yeah.
I try to
I don't
skip
believe
those.
it's the curb. I believe it's right the first piece.
Our curbs have taken a beating.
Mhm.
The year we had a lot of snow, those poor curbs. At some point, you know, we should look at it, but I will look into that.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me know. But no, as far as the rack itself, I know that they felt the hit inside the library. So
Oh.
something had got jarred loose, and I'm sure that, I mean, it's anchored to the concrete, so I'm quite sure that, you know, unless they can reuse that, I'll have more info for you at the next meeting, because I'm sure I'll have all of that. And I don't have it on here because I had already done my report, but I noticed a couple of more leaks, and I had Renault come in. And we've got a problem with the Aeon unit on the roof where a couple of sensors, I had started to think that the humidity in the library was higher than it should be. And I have a cursory knowledge of the computer, you know, system that is used to control it. So I can log on and see if everything's turning and things like that. But beyond that, I'm not an HVAC expert. But anyway, there's a couple of sensors that I guess this particular Aeon unit is notorious for having to be replaced. I don't think they're hugely expensive, but I have given the go-ahead to replace those. And beyond that, we have discovered a leak in the local history conference room. Yes. And Brian from Renault does think that it's related. So
So if we have some ceiling tiles that have been affected by this.
I'm not replacing the ceiling tiles until I'm
Cell
certain.
leaks and stuff.
Yeah, otherwise, so I'm not sure where those come from, but I think that shouldn't be hard to come by. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a heads up that, you know, I'm working on that. I'm working with Renault. Renault is also the company that's installing the town hall system, hopefully soon. And so it's easy, it's easy for them. I know they're going to be working up here this week, so it's easy for them to pop down. Brian said he'd stop in and just check in to make sure that the adjustments, he did make some adjustments today. It's really tricky. I guess the rooftop unit is notorious, as new as it is, it's what he described as almost over-engineered. So it's, you know, any little changes that you make to the controls, you know, could have other effects in other areas. So it's kind of tough to put your finger on. But overall, I'm not complaining because we have air conditioning in the library
Right.
and it is good. So I will not, you know.
Anyone who's seeking relief, it's a cool place to be.
I've
More
got
ways
someone
than one.
here who works in no air conditioning right now, so I don't want to complain too much.
If I may, it was something I think we discussed some time ago, Karen. I know in the men's room, it would be nice if we had a shelf. You know, if you go in there and you have a book, you know, coming in or leaving, someplace to put it
books
other
in the
than the
men's
floor,
room.
if you will. Trying to balance it on the sink is, well, it's a little more challenging than
You could leave it on the bench outside.
on the bench outside. There's a thought, but then it's kind of free and available to the world. If you value your possessions someplace other than the floor, I think.
I will look into a shelf in the men's room.
Just a thought. Thank
Not
you.
in the stalls.
No. Just I know there's a baby changing station there. I thought of making use of that, but that seemed to be a little too sophisticated for the need that I had.
Hey, oh, well, wait a minute, you never know.
Fit the bill.
I
I
know.
don't know.
Well,
I've opted to stay away from that for the time being, at least. Thank you.
Karen, can I ask you a question about
Yes.
utilities and things?
Yep.
I know that we're a designated green building. Do we have any solar panels up?
We do.
We do. So how are they doing offsetting the cost of our air conditioning and such?
They do a pretty good job. You may have heard me talk about, well, maybe the first or second year that I arrived, we did see an offset. It really depends. Like, it's not a direct credit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing where I think it gets sold back to the grid, and then they, do a formula, and then they give us a credit, which I did receive the first or second year that I arrived. And then the third to the fourth year, I didn't see it despite many phone calls. And finally, Greg was able to, jar them loose. And so we are reaping the benefits of the solar credits right now. Yes, if you notice the big peaks in the library, these two sides are loaded with solar panels.
Now,
And
the efficiency of those units, as I understand it, degrades over time. I don't know it will have been in place now for a number of years. I don't know whether
8 years.
8 years, so how,
Was it installed as soon as the library was built, or?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
I'm just wondering what the level of efficiency, what we're getting out of that now as opposed to when they were first installed. If there's any way of tracking that, probably isn't, given the algorithm that they're working to.
Yeah, I think it depends on the cost of electricity at the
It
time.
would probably be a factor. Or, well, I guess the number of kilowatt hours would probably be the thing that would be the same or common to both.
I am not sure about that, Richard.
It's,
I can check on it for you.
I don't think it's anything we have any control over, so we'll
Yeah, I
take what
don't
we can
either.
get, and
Yeah.
if it's better than I think it might be, then even better than.
I think it's pretty good. It's,
Good.
I would say, I hate to say, because again, it depends on the cost of electricity, but I want to say the first year it was a couple of $1,000s, which is, when you're talking about a building that size, heating and air conditioning, that could be my monthly bill in the wintertime
It's substantial.
for that. So, yeah, I think, it was a good thing.
Alrighty, moving along, any other questions regarding facilities? No? All right, our next item of business is upcoming meeting start time. This has been carried forward now, I think this is the third attempt at this? Okay. As I recall, and please correct me if you will, one of the issues we have is, as it's currently stated, we meet the fourth Tuesday of the month at 5:15. And a member has indicated that time of day, not the day necessarily, as I understand it, but the time of day is a problem given their business situation or business commitments. I know Pat's done a little research on this. We've tried to identify some of the issues that pertain. One was the availability of the room. One of the other considerations was the videographer. One of the others was Michelle, in terms of whether she would choose to attend the meeting, as you are here today, going forward, or to rely on the recording. And then another would have been, and I think the last and fourth would have been Karen's time. As it stands now, 5:15 kind of works towards the end of Karen's day. 6:15 extends that day, if you will, and then Tuesday is not a day the library is open, extended hours. That may be the first time you've heard of this issue.
Yes, it is.
Mondays and Thursdays.
Mondays and Thursdays is extended hours.
Right,
But you
until
can't-
8.
you can't sit on the time. So what did we find out?
Well, Pat, you want to speak to a couple of those? I know you did some research on that.
Well, I think we're all set with everything. So everyone agrees, it's 6:15.
All right.
So 6:15 is a possibility.
Yeah, I just mention all of those because it's just that there are a number of moving parts. It's not simply by agreement of this group, as a committee to make that change. There are other factors involved, so it's not something we would necessarily do lightly, or hopefully not do often. Stephanie, you've not had a chance to speak in regards to this issue. Does that present any problems for you, that 6:15 on Tuesdays going forward? No? Okay. Well, if that's the case, then does anyone have anything they would like to offer as a motion? What's the wish of the committee, the board?
to approve a change of our meeting start times from 5:15 to 6:15
On Tuesdays.
on Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Fourth Tuesday, is there a second?
I don't know if you, I'm the one that presented it, so I don't know, but I would second that.
All right, there is a motion and a second. We change our meeting time from 5:15 on Tuesdays to 6:15 on Tuesdays going forward. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passed.
For, as far as your hours go, not to impact because, but is there any way that you can be compensated as to, because this does extend your day on a Tuesday once a month, is there any way that you can be compensated that hour?
Oh, I'll amend my
Differently.
hours accordingly.
Oh, okay, so,
Yeah,
all right.
I mean, this isn't the only meeting that I attend that's, outside of, every now and then
I'll try
I'll,
not to make it look this real.
I will do whatever the board needs me to do.
The one other thought that I should have
I will make
mentioned
it
is,
work.
Obviously, we had Susan with us this evening. I don't know whether that will present an issue coming up in the future in terms of introducing new members to the staff. If they
Oh,
we
I
choose
hope
to
I
do
don't
so.
have too many, well,
Well-
maybe, actually, I hope I do have.
Well, I guess we'll have to deal with those as they come up then.
I don't
See how
think
that
it'll
works
be an
out.
issue, no.
All right.
I mean, it's not, usually
So-
they're more local than I am. but
That having
it's
been
no reason.
resolved, it seems like it's appropriate that we look at alternate meeting dates, since we're talking about meetings.
Yeah.
For the month of December, I think as scheduled, we'd be meeting on Christmas. I don't know, Santa Claus might be otherwise occupied on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
Last year, do you want to make a motion first before discussion?
No, I don't.
Well,
Okay.
you have a motion, something that you would like to offer as an alternate?
No, I was going to say, last year what we did is that we kept the November meeting date, and then we
Mhm.
moved the January meeting date up. I think it was like January 9th. or something.
Combine December and
Yeah,
January.
So-
Right.
Richard recommended that.
I
And
did have a
that
thought
would
to offer,
combine
if
the-
it's in order, that
Yep.
the
Because having a week-
possibility would be that we go to no meeting in December and meet for January and December on January 8th. Is there any, I mean, that's a possibility at this point.
So we mean for November and December?
But we would
No,
not meet in
December.
December,
Okay.
but we would meet January, and the meeting would be January 8th. I think we're well past the holiday
Instead of
season.
the end of January.
Instead of the end of January. Have one meeting combined December and January.
Like we did last
And
year.
that meeting be on the 8th of January,
I don't think that's
2008.
something you need to.
We don't? Okay. Well, is there,
So we wouldn't meet the 22nd?
No,
is there an agreement? I mean, does anyone have any questions or concerns with that date? Is someone planning to be somewhere else that
Well,
day?
I'd say the only thing is if Karen finds there's some business that needs addressing right away, we can always add a meeting
Right.
or shift it around.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So Pat has been good enough to provide us with a calendar,
I'll update that.
and appropriately has a question for the December meeting, so we can resolve that question mark at this point. Then it will go with January 8th, 2018.
And this will be posted downstairs, so we'll have our meetings posted for the calendar year.
Excellent, thank you. And the last item of new business that we have is the 5-year plan. Sounds like something out of the old Soviet
Oh.
Union. What is this?
Well, I just thought that it's due for re-upping, and that's something that gets filed with the state of Massachusetts. And so I've got, right now I'm working on my state reports. There's 2 state reports. One is due pretty soon. I'm about 2/3 of the way through that one. And then the second one is our financial report. I usually leave copies in the folder where you guys sign. Richard needs to sign as the chair, and I need to sign. But beyond that, I don't need signatures from everybody, but I do like to show you. And usually I'll put last year's copy in there as well, so you can see, what went up, what went down, that kind of thing. So that's reporting. I'm about 3/4 of the way through upgrading our website, and I've been working with Piper Webs, our website company. And matter of fact, they just contacted me today to move the project along. And so I'm going to be turning my attention to that next. I really want to get that done because it's like I'm in the final stretch, and I just need to like fine tune it a little bit and make it happen. And then I thought I would turn my attention to the 5-year plan. So I'll be. I don't really know what else to say about it other than that it's due for renewal and for another 5 years.
Would you be kind enough to make available, I don't know, I have a copy of it, I don't know.
I can email it.
If you could, or maybe just have
How many
copies.
pages is it?
It's
Several,
pretty long.
yeah, it's, you got down to 17.
So.
So if we could have
Yeah.
a couple of copies available in the folders.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say is the current 5-year plan. It's a great plan for a library that is fully funded, fully staffed, and everything is wonderful. But it's not really realistic for this particular library.
I just thought it might have some value with
Oh, yeah.
some of the things that it touches upon, to familiarize some of the new members especially
Were
with
you
some of the
involved in
things.
the creation of that 5-year plan? You weren't?
I wasn't.
No, she wasn't, no.
It was contracted out, but right. And I'm looking at a much simpler plan that's more doable. So the Mass Board of Library Commissioners has resources available, and once I get the website off my plate and up to Piper Webs and they're doing their magic, then I will, be back in touch and I'll have some suggestions. I don't want to do it in, in a
So,
vacuum.
would you be able to make some copies available for some of the newer folks in terms of the committee? Because in looking through this, the only one whose name is actually attached to this is Pat. The rest of us came on board sometime after this was generated. And
Yeah, I'll just
it's
email it
quite
to everyone.
detailed, and there's, I think, a lot of good information and a lot of things that went into this. So I think there might be some value, at least in terms of giving us some thoughts as to where we might want to go in the future. Some thoughts. It doesn't necessarily have to be all of what's here necessarily, but it does touch upon a number of things that the library is involved with, and the community at large too. It goes
Absolutely.
outside of the library.
Yeah. I'm really looking for a document that is much shorter and doable because it's unmanageable.
Okay.
And the person that did it, I know of the person who did it, the facilitator, and she's used to a larger community, a larger budget, a larger staff, a larger library that's functioning with an assistant director and at least a 6 or more person full-time staff. So it is great, in that it kind of gives us something to shoot for as far as down the road.
Right.
But as far as a working document, which I would like, because that's really what keeps us on tack.
Be more appropriate, certainly.
Something more, I've been kind of gathering them from other libraries too, ones that have been recently done. There's a great repository in the Mass Board of Library Commissioners of 5-year plans as well, if anybody's interested in seeing. But I figure, probably not the next meeting, but the one after in the fall, we can maybe talk about going forward. I know, but.
I'm sorry?
She's already talking about the fall.
Oh, okay.
Well, the reason that I say
Summer
that
is
is
going so fast.
these are kind of big projects for
Ahead of
me.
us.
So I still have to run the library in my spare time.
Just a passing thought, if I may. I know you mentioned the Mass Library Board of Commissioners a couple of times this evening. And for those of folks who are new to the committee, there are meetings, there are sessions that they hold that help to familiarize you with their responsibilities and libraries in general in the state. I'm not sure
While
what
you
the
bring
next-
that up, I did look at, and I attempted to get myself on an email list,
Uh-huh.
but I wasn't allowed. I don't believe it didn't go through. So I don't know how that happens, and I know it was brought up maybe one of the first meetings
Usually
about
once-
getting on the email list, and I don't think I've gotten on any email list
Really?
to date.
Oh,
Usually
okay.
once your names are submitted, which Karen does,
Yep.
if you get an email from them, have you received anything from them as yet?
No. I actually went on to
Slow on
it
that.
though, I think from something you had sent us,
Right.
that I read, and I said, oh, I clicked, and I said, oh, I can add, and
Yeah.
I'll just add so I get on the list, but
Yeah, they're
it didn't
usually pretty
happen.
good about, once it's updated, start getting
I just didn't know.
I did.
Yeah, I haven't received anything either.
Yeah,
But
so it may
your
just be-
situation, you are so new that I'd be surprised if you had, but I would think Joyce by now might have gotten something.
Well, the only thing I can say is when I went to do the updating, and it was right as soon as Stephanie became a board member, even unofficially, I jumped right on it because Pat had said, oh, you need to let the Mass Board know. And the gal that's doing the trustee stuff is brand spanking new.
Okay.
Vacation times and stuff.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I can send you her contact information.
Okay.
And you can contact her. I know the board's been updated, and I'm positive that your emails are on there.
Now, there were the sessions, I'm trying to read, I don't remember, I apologize, I don't remember the dates and times or locations for them, but I know there were several of them. They try to locate them at various
The
venues
trustee
in the state, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of them were really that close to Dudley.
I did contact Maura, and she
Yeah,
asked
I'm
if we might be
on
interested
board.
in having one in the spring.
In the spring,
And I talked to
okay.
Karen, and Karen said go for it.
Right.
So I did let her know that we would be interested, so
Okay.
that would be an option.
Now, they did send out an email, I'll see if I can't find it and send it to those of you that are new and I haven't deleted it. And if there's one that happens to be convenient for you, they are very interesting, they cover a wide
I might wait
range
for
of
that spring
topics.
one.
And I think you'll find that there's
Oh, that's fine.
probably going to be a lot more there than you anticipated. That's what I came away with
Yeah,
anyway.
they're very good.
You're very good. And it's, I thinking of going myself again because Lord knows I've forgotten an awful lot of things.
Well, things changed.
Yeah, well, that's true too. That's true too. Very good.
I'll email Stephanie and Joyce. I will email the both of you with the contact info for the trustee person of the Mass Board, and I'm imagining
How
that
often do you get an email from them?
Oh,
Monthly or-
You never
no,
know.
it's
Depends on.
whenever they have something to offer.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
whenever the legislature is, you know.
There is
looking at
no,
budgets or,
Right,
you
funding.
know, yeah.
no regularly scheduled information. They don't have any sort of a newsletter or things of that sort that I'm aware of. Anyway. It's just as issues arise.
We do get periodic newsletter. They'll give us updates on any building or enlargement of libraries or
Oh.
whatever that's going on. That just came a couple weeks ago.
That email?
Yeah, and then there is
I don't think I've seen it.
also, there's someone, and I can't remember his name, but he is sending information when he finds an interesting article on why libraries are important.
Right, yeah, I've seen some of
Yeah, I
those.
think that's probably the one that I sent to you.
Robert Favini.
Yes.
He's not the head of the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, but he's like
One of
right
the-
under.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Super nice guy.
All right, so just to mention the fact that there is a lot of information out there, and there are some resources outside of what obviously is our great resource in terms of caring. We can avail ourselves of. So we'll see if we can't smooth out some of that communication that we've got now. All righty, we have reached the end in terms of our agenda, and I think a thank you is in order to Pat. Not only did she prepare the agenda, but she was kind enough to provide us with additional copies,
Thank you.
which she does on a regular basis. She keeps us on the straight and narrow. Thank you, Pat, for all that you've done and for hopefully all you'll continue to do. Does anyone have anything else that they would like to bring up at this point?
I know. Thank you for changing meeting time. That is going to make my point of the.
Oh, good.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Are you asking?
I said I'll make a motion to adjourn.
At 6:41.
Was there a second?
I
Second.
Second? All right, all those in favor? Aye. That one's always